Have you ever heard of a dog that became a hero in an unbelievable situation? Imagine the scene. A pregnant woman in danger, a police officer acting unexpectedly, and a dog doing something no one could have predicted. It sounds like a movie script, but this happened in real life. In this video, we're going to share this emotional and twist-filled story. You'll discover how a dog's protective instinct changed everything in a moment of tension. Get ready for a blend of adrenaline, emotion, and a powerful lesson about courage. Stay until the end to understand the crucial role of this four-legged hero and how this story can transform the way you view our furry friends. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring and surprising stories. And comment below. Where are you watching this video from? We'd love to know. Renata Santos glanced at her growing belly, feeling the subtle movements of her unborn child. At 7 months pregnant, her dreams of motherhood had never felt more immediate, yet the weight of her circumstances pressed heavily upon her. Living in the bustling periferia of São Paulo, Renata had grown accustomed to the chaos. The honking cars, the constant chatter, and the relentless pace that never seemed to slow down. Amidst this turmoil, her sanctuary was the quiet moments she shared with Tobias, her loyal canine companion. The golden retriever had been by her side for years, offering unwavering support and companionship. On a particularly sunny Saturday morning, Renata felt an overwhelming need to escape the city's incessant noise. Determined to find peace, she decided to visit the local park, a green oasis nestled within the urban sprawl. The park's tall trees swayed gently in the breeze, their leaves rustling softly as birds sang melodious tunes. The sight of families picnicking, children laughing, and joggers weaving through the pathways provided a stark contrast to the hectic life outside. Renata packed a small bag with essentials, a water bottle, a book she'd been eager to read, and a few snacks. She slipped into her comfortable jeans and a light sweater, ensuring she was prepared for the unpredictable weather. Tobias, sensing her intent, wagged his tail enthusiastically, ready for the adventure. As they approached the park's entrance, Renata felt a sense of anticipation. The familiar scent of blooming flowers greeted her, mingling with the earthy aroma of freshly cut grass. Finding a secluded bench beneath a towering oak tree, she settled down, allowing herself to unwind. Tobias lay beside her, his presence a comforting reminder that she wasn't alone. Renata opened her book, but found herself distracted by the vibrant life around her. Children chased each other, their laughter echoing through the park, while elderly couples strolled hand in hand. The serenity she sought was slowly enveloping her, easing the stress that had accumulated over the months. However, tranquility was fleeting. A sudden authoritative voice shattered the calm. "What are you doing here? This place isn't for you." Startled, Renata looked up to see a police officer approaching with a stern expression. His uniform was immaculate, but his demeanor radiated hostility. He stopped inches away from her, his gaze scrutinizing. Renata's heart raced. She had never encountered such blatant aggression, especially in what was supposed to be a peaceful setting. Swallowing her fear, she responded calmly, "I'm just here to enjoy the park with Tobias. We're not causing any trouble." The officer's eyes narrowed. "We don't usually see women like you here. What's your purpose?" Renata felt a surge of anger mixed with fear. "I'm expecting a child. I deserve the same peace as anyone else." The tension in the air was palpable. Tobias sensed the rising conflict, his protective instincts kicking in. He shifted closer to Renata, subtly positioning himself between her and the officer. Before the situation could escalate further, Renata noticed a group of parkgoers beginning to watch the interaction. Murmurs of disapproval spread among them, creating a ripple of support around her. The officer, feeling the shift in the crowd's energy, hesitated. Renata took a deep breath, summoning the courage to stand her ground. "I have every right to be here, just like anyone else." Tobias let out a low growl, reinforcing Renata's assertion. The officer glanced around, perhaps sensing the growing solidarity, and finally took a step back. "Fine, but keep an eye out." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Renata and Tobias alone once more. Renata exhaled slowly, her body relaxing as the immediate threat dissipated. She looked down at Tobias, gratitude welling up inside her. Their bond had once again provided her with strength in a moment of vulnerability. As the day continued, Renata found herself more aware of the subtle dynamics around her. The encounter had shaken her, but it also ignited a spark of resilience she hadn't fully recognized before. With Tobias by her side, she felt empowered to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The days following Renata's unsettling encounter at the park were a blend of apprehension and determination. Each time she passed the park entrance, memories of the police officer's harsh words resurfaced, tightening the knot in her stomach. Yet, amidst the lingering fear, a newfound resolve began to take root within her. Renata's closest friend, Luisa, noticed the subtle changes in her demeanor. They had known each other since childhood, their bond forged through shared hardships and joyous moments alike. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over Renata's modest apartment, Luisa paid her a visit. "Renata, you've been distant lately. Is everything all right?" Luisa asked, concern etched in her eyes. Renata sighed, running a hand gently over her swollen belly. "It's nothing I can't handle, Luisa. Just some things at the park have been weighing on me." Luisa sat beside her, offering a comforting smile. "You know you can talk to me, right? Whatever it is, we're in this together." Taking a deep breath, Renata recounted the morning's events, the peaceful walk with Tobias, the abrupt confrontation with the police officer, and Tobias's brave intervention. Luisa listened intently, her expression shifting from concern to determination. "This isn't right, Renata," Luisa affirmed. "No one deserves to be treated that way, especially not you. We need to do something about it." Renata felt a spark of hope ignite. "But what can we do? It's just one incident." Luisa shook her head. "It's more than that. It's a reflection of a larger issue. If we stay silent, it only perpetuates the problem. Maybe we can raise awareness, get support from the community." Inspired by her friend's unwavering support, Renata began to contemplate ways to address the injustice she had faced. She remembered seeing a community center nearby that often hosted meetings and support groups. Perhaps it was time to reach out and seek allies. The following weekend, Renata and Luisa decided to visit the community center. As they approached the building, the sounds of lively conversation and the scent of freshly brewed coffee greeted them. The center was a hub of activity, with people from all walks of life coming together to share, learn, and support one another. Inside, they were greeted by Maria, the center's coordinator, a warm-hearted woman with a commanding presence. "Welcome. How can we help you today?" Renata explained her experience at the park, detailing the encounter with the police officer and the discrimination she had faced. Maria listened thoughtfully, her eyes reflecting both empathy and resolve. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that," Maria said. "Unfortunately, these kinds of incidents aren't isolated. We've been working on initiatives to address discrimination and support those affected by it. Perhaps you could join our next meeting? Your story could help others and bring more attention to the issue." Feeling a mix of nervousness and empowerment, Renata agreed. "I'd like that. Thank you." Over the next few weeks, Renata became an active member of the community center. She attended meetings, shared her experiences, and connected with others who had faced similar challenges. Among the group was Diego, a passionate young activist dedicated to social justice, and Ana, a single mother who had overcome her own struggles with resilience and grace. Together, they brainstormed ways to create change. They organized workshops on self-advocacy, held peaceful demonstrations to raise awareness, and collaborated with local media to highlight stories of discrimination and resilience. Renata found solace in the collective strength of the group, her initial fear transforming into a powerful drive to make a difference. One evening, as Renata sat in the center's common area, she overheard snippets of a conversation between Diego and Ana. They were discussing plans for a large-scale event aimed at promoting equality and challenging systemic prejudice. Renata's heart swelled with pride and anticipation. This was the opportunity she had been yearning for, to contribute to something meaningful and impactful. However, as the event date approached, tensions within the community began to rise. Not everyone agreed on the best approach to effect change, and disagreements occasionally flared into heated arguments. Renata found herself navigating these complexities, striving to maintain unity while advocating for the cause she believed in. Amidst the preparations, Tobias remained a constant presence by Renata's side. His calming presence provided her with the strength to persevere, even on the most challenging days. The bond between them deepened, a testament to their unwavering support for one another. As the day of the event drew near, Renata couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was about to unfold. The air was thick with anticipation, and the community center buzzed with activity as final touches were made. Little did she know that this event would not only test her courage, but also unveil secrets that would forever change her life and the lives of those around her. The weeks leading up to the community center's large-scale event were a whirlwind of activity and emotion. Renata Santos found herself deeply immersed in the preparations, each task a stepping stone toward the change she so fervently desired. The once overwhelming fear that had taken root after her encounter at the park had transformed into a steadfast determination, fueled by the support of her newfound community. Renata's role in the planning committee grew as she collaborated closely with Diego and Ana. Diego, with his infectious enthusiasm and strategic mind, took the lead in organizing logistics and outreach. Ana, drawing from her own experiences as a single mother, focused on creating workshops and support groups that would empower attendees. Renata, drawing on her compassionate nature and growing leadership skills, coordinated volunteer efforts and managed communications with local media. One evening, as the sun set over São Paulo's sprawling skyline, Renata sat in the community center's meeting room, surrounded by sketches of banners and schedules for the event. Her phone buzzed with a message from Luisa. "How are you holding up? Remember to take breaks." Renata smiled, appreciating her friend's concern. She took a moment to stretch and sip her tea, her thoughts drifting to Tobias. His unwavering presence had been a cornerstone of her strength, and she wondered how he was adapting to the increased activity around her. As the days progressed, the event began to take shape. Flyers adorned lampposts, social media buzzed with announcements, and word of mouth spread through the peripheria. The community center became a hub of creativity and collaboration, each member contributing their unique talents to ensure the event's success. However, not everyone viewed the upcoming gathering with optimism. A faction within the community felt that the event was too confrontational, fearing backlash from local authorities and those resistant to change. These dissenting voices occasionally clashed with the main planning group, leading to heated debates that threatened to undermine the unity Renata had worked so hard to build. One afternoon, Renata found herself in a tense discussion with Marco, a longtime resident and respected community member who had grown increasingly vocal about his concerns. "I understand your passion, Renata, but we need to be strategic," Marco insisted, his frustration evident. "If we push too hard, we risk alienating potential allies and giving the authorities an excuse to crack down harder." Renata felt a pang of irritation but took a deep breath to maintain her composure. "Marco, our goal isn't to alienate anyone. It's to raise awareness and foster understanding. We can do this peacefully and effectively without compromising our message," Marco sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I just worry about the repercussions. We've seen what can happen when things escalate." Before Renata could respond, Diego entered the room, his presence commanding immediate attention. "What's the status here?" he asked, glancing between Renata and Marco. Renata quickly summarized the disagreement, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a balanced approach. Diego listened thoughtfully before speaking. "I hear both of you," he began. "Renata, your passion is what drives this movement. Marco, your caution ensures we stay grounded. Perhaps we can find a middle ground, a way to be assertive without being aggressive." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed Diego's suggestion. Renata felt a surge of gratitude toward him for mediating the conflict. "I agree. Let's brainstorm ways to amplify our message through education and positive engagement rather than confrontation." Marco nodded slowly, the tension easing from his shoulders. "That sounds reasonable. I'm willing to support that approach." With the conflict resolved, the team felt a renewed sense of purpose. They redoubled their efforts, each member bringing their best to the table. Workshops on self-advocacy, storytelling sessions to share personal experiences, and collaborative art projects all found their place in the event's agenda. As the event date drew nearer, the community center buzzed with anticipation. Volunteers arrived early each morning to set up, transforming the space into a vibrant venue adorned with colorful banners and informative displays. The air was thick with excitement and the collective hope that this gathering would mark the beginning of meaningful change. On the eve of the event, Renata took a moment to reflect. She stood by the center's large windows, watching as the city lights flickered on one by one, mirroring the stars above. Tobias lay at her feet, his steady breathing a soothing reminder of the bond they shared. "Tomorrow is the big day, Tobias," she whispered, gently stroking his fur. "No matter what happens, we've come this far together." Tobias lifted his head, offering a reassuring gaze that seemed to speak volumes. Renata felt a deep sense of gratitude for her loyal companion, whose silent strength had been instrumental in her journey. As she turned to head back inside, Renata couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would be a turning point, not just for her, but for the entire community. Little did she know that the events of the following day would challenge everything she thought she knew, unveiling secrets and truths that would forever alter the course of her life. The morning sun cast a golden hue over São Paulo, signaling the dawn of a day that held immense significance for Renata Santos and her community. The air buzzed with anticipation as volunteers from the community center arrived early, their movements synchronized in a dance of preparation and purpose. Banners bearing messages of equality, unity, and resilience fluttered gently in the breeze, adorning the spacious hall that had been transformed into a vibrant venue. Renata stood near the entrance, taking a deep breath as she surveyed the scene. Tables were laden with informational pamphlets, refreshments, and art displays created by local artists. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the aroma of homemade pastries, creating an inviting atmosphere. Tobias, ever the vigilant companion, wandered through the crowd, his presence a comforting anchor amidst the flurry of activity. Diego approached Renata, his face alight with enthusiasm. "Everything looks incredible, Renata. We've done an amazing job." Renata smiled, though a flicker of anxiety lingered in her eyes. "Thanks, Diego. I just hope today goes smoothly." Before Diego could respond, Maria joined them, her demeanor calm and reassuring. "Remember, no matter what happens, we've prepared for this. Stay focused on our goals." As the clock ticked closer to the event's start time, attendees began to trickle in. Faces both familiar and new filled the hall, each person bringing their own story and hope for change. Renata recognized many from the community center, their shared experiences forging an unspoken bond among them. The program was set to begin with a welcome speech, followed by panel discussions, workshops, and performances that showcased the community's diverse talents. Renata took her place behind the podium, her heart pounding in her chest. She glanced at Tobias, who sat loyally by her side, offering silent support. Taking a deep breath, Renata began, her voice steady despite the butterflies fluttering in her stomach. "Welcome, everyone. Today, we gather not just to voice our concerns, but to celebrate our resilience and our unwavering commitment to a better future." Applause rippled through the crowd, bolstering her confidence. The event unfolded seamlessly, each segment building upon the last, weaving a tapestry of stories that highlighted both the struggles and triumphs of the community. Renata watched as people connected, shared, and inspired one another, the room humming with a collective energy that was both empowering and contagious. However, beneath the surface of unity, subtle tensions began to simmer. A group of individuals, visibly agitated, lingered near the back, their whispers carrying a tone of dissent. Renata couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that something was amiss, but she pushed the thought aside, focusing instead on the positive momentum surrounding her. As the afternoon sun reached its zenith, the event transitioned into a panel discussion on systemic discrimination and avenues for change. Renata was slated to share her personal experience, her story serving as a poignant testament to the injustices faced by many in the community. Taking her place among the panelists, Renata felt a surge of determination. She looked out at the audience, their faces a mosaic of hope and solidarity. "Thank you for having me," she began. My journey has been one of both struggle and strength. Today, I stand before you not just as an individual, but as a representative of countless voices that demand recognition and equality. Her words resonated deeply, eliciting heartfelt responses from the attendees. Renata spoke passionately about her encounter at the park, the prejudice she faced, and the unwavering support of her community. As she concluded, the room erupted in applause, the applause echoing her own newfound sense of purpose. But amidst the celebration, Renata's attention was drawn to a commotion near the entrance. The same group of dissenters who had been quietly agitated now moved forward with determination, their faces stern and intent. Renata's heart quickened as she recognized Marco among them, his expression a mix of frustration and urgency. Before she could process the unfolding situation, one of the dissenters stepped forward, holding up a phone. "We need to address this now," the individual declared, their voice cutting through the ambient noise of the event. Diego, sensing the brewing tension, approached calmly. "Is there an issue we can help resolve?" The dissenter's gaze shifted to Renata, their eyes narrowing. "This event is a facade. Real change requires more than just words and gatherings. We need action, immediate and tangible." Renata felt a knot form in her stomach, but she stood her ground, meeting the dissenter's gaze with unwavering resolve. "We are committed to making a difference. Today's event is a step towards that goal. What more do you need from us?" Before the situation could escalate further, a loud crash echoed through the hall, drawing everyone's attention. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the source of the disturbance. A display showcasing local artists' work had been overturned, and the dissenters were now attempting to dismantle the exhibits. Panic began to ripple through the crowd as security personnel rushed to contain the situation. Renata's mind raced, trying to process the sudden turn of events. Amidst the chaos, she noticed Tobias darting toward the disrupted display, his protective instincts fully engaged. As the tension mounted, a piercing siren sounded from outside, followed by the blaring of police sirens growing louder. The room was plunged into confusion as authorities began to swarm the venue, their presence adding another layer of complexity to the already volatile situation. Renata's heart pounded as she realized the gravity of the moment. The very event meant to foster unity and change was now under threat, not just from internal dissent but from external forces. She glanced at Tobias, whose eyes met hers with a silent plea for calm and strength. In the midst of the turmoil, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd. Lucas, Renata's estranged brother. His unexpected presence added another layer of intrigue to the unfolding drama. Renata had not seen Lucas in years, their relationship strained by past misunderstandings and unspoken grievances. "Lucas," Renata called out, her voice a mixture of surprise and apprehension. Lucas approached cautiously, his expression guarded. "Renata, we need to talk." Before Renata could respond, a police officer stepped forward, his demeanor authoritative and unyielding. "Everyone, please remain calm and follow our instructions. This event is being investigated for potential disturbances." Renata felt a surge of frustration and fear. The culmination of the day's efforts now hung in the balance, threatened by both internal and external forces. She glanced at Diego and Maria, their faces reflecting the same uncertainty and determination that burned within her. As the situation spiraled, Renata knew that the true test of their community's resilience was just beginning. The events of this day would not only shape the future of their movement, but also unveil secrets and truths that could redefine Renata's own path. The room buzzed with tension as police officers methodically moved through the venue, their presence a stark reminder of the delicate balance between advocacy and authority. Renata Santos stood amidst the chaos, her heart pounding as she tried to process the unfolding events. The once vibrant atmosphere of unity and hope had been abruptly overshadowed by uncertainty and fear. Lucas Santos, Renata's estranged brother, remained at her side, his presence both comforting and disconcerting. Their relationship had been strained for years, marred by misunderstandings and unspoken grievances. Renata had hoped that this unexpected reunion might bridge the gap between them, but now, amidst the turmoil, the weight of their past hung heavily in the air. "We need to stay calm," Lucas whispered, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Panicking won't help anyone. Renata nodded, drawing strength from his presence. I know, but it feels like everything we've worked for is unraveling. Diego approached them, his expression resolute. We can't let this derail our efforts. We need to keep everyone calm and continue to stand our ground. Maria joined the group, her eyes scanning the room for any signs of escalation. Let's focus on de-escalating the situation. We can address the concerns once things settle down. As Renata and Lucas stood side by side, memories of their shared childhood flickered in Renata's mind. They had once been inseparable, dreaming of a future where they could support each other through life's challenges. Time and circumstance had driven a wedge between them, but now, faced with adversity, there was a silent yearning to reconnect. Suddenly, a commotion erupted near the entrance as another group of dissenters attempted to disrupt the event further. This time, however, their motives seemed different, more personal, more intense. Renata watched as Marco, their earlier adversary, stepped forward once again, his demeanor more aggressive than before. This isn't enough, Marco shouted, his voice echoing through the hall. We need real change, not just words and empty gestures. Before Renata could respond, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. Detective Rafael Mendez, a seasoned officer known for his integrity and commitment to justice. His presence commanded immediate attention, and he made his way toward the center of the room. Everyone, please remain calm, Detective Mendez announced, his authoritative voice cutting through the tension. We're here to ensure everyone's safety and to understand what's happening. Renata felt a flicker of hope at the detective's intervention. She had heard of his reputation for fairness and empathy, qualities desperately needed in this moment. Detective Mendez approached the podium, his gaze meeting Renata's. Ms. Santos, could you please step forward? He requested. Renata hesitated for a moment before complying, stepping up to the podium alongside Diego, Maria, and Lucas. The room fell silent, all eyes fixed on her as she took a deep breath. Detective Mendez, Renata began, her voice steady despite the nerves bubbling beneath the surface. Thank you for being here. Our event was meant to promote unity and address systemic issues within our community. We never intended for things to escalate like this. Detective Mendez nodded thoughtfully. I understand your intentions, Ms. Santos. However, there are concerns about the disturbances that have occurred today. Can you shed some light on what led to this situation? Renata exchanged a glance with Lucas before responding. There are individuals who feel that our efforts aren't enough, that we need more immediate and tangible actions to effect change. While we aim for peaceful advocacy, we understand the frustration and desire for progress. Marco, who had been silent until now, stepped forward once more. Peaceful advocacy is important, but so is real change. We can't wait indefinitely for our voices to be heard. Detective Mendez listened intently, his eyes shifting between Renata and Marco. I appreciate both perspectives. However, maintaining peace is crucial to ensuring that everyone's voices are heard without further conflict. As the conversation continued, Renata noticed a subtle shift in the room's energy. The presence of Detective Mendez seemed to temper the heightened emotions, providing a semblance of order amidst the chaos. However, deep down, Renata couldn't shake the feeling that there were underlying tensions yet to be addressed. After a lengthy discussion, Detective Mendez proposed a temporary pause to the event, allowing both sides to cool down and revisit the conversation with a mediator present. Renata agreed, feeling a sense of relief that the situation wasn't spiraling further out of control. As the crowd began to disperse, Renata found herself alone with Lucas, Diego, and Maria. The weight of the day's events bore down on her, but amidst the exhaustion, a spark of hope remained. Thank you for stepping in, Renata said to Lucas, her voice softening. I didn't expect to see you here. Lucas offered a small smile. I wanted to make sure you were okay, despite everything. Seeing you here reminded me of our bond. Renata felt a surge of emotion, the barriers between them beginning to crumble. Maybe it's time we start rebuilding what we lost. Before Lucas could respond, a sudden loud crash echoed through the hall once more, drawing everyone's attention back to the venue's interior. This time, the disruption was more severe. A massive power outage plunged the room into darkness, followed by a series of loud bangs that rattled the building's structure. Panic ensued as attendees struggled to maintain their composure. Emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows across the room. Renata's heart raced as she tried to make sense of the latest disturbance. "Everyone, stay calm," Diego called out, attempting to steady the crowd. "We need to find out what's happening." As the chaos unfolded, Renata felt a strong presence by her side. Tobias, her loyal dog, stood protectively in front of her, his instincts telling him that something was terribly wrong. She reached down to pet him, finding solace in his unwavering companionship. Amidst the confusion, Detective Mendez reappeared, his expression grim. "We have reason to believe that this was not an accident," he announced. "We need to conduct a thorough investigation to determine the cause of these disturbances." Renata exchanged a worried glance with Lucas. The night had taken a dark turn, and the underlying threats to their movement had become all too apparent. As she stood there, she couldn't help but wonder if there were forces at play that sought to undermine their efforts from the shadows. Little did Renata know, the events of that day were merely the beginning of a deeper, more intricate web of secrets and revelations that would test her resilience and redefine her understanding of family, community, and justice. The sudden power outage plunged the community center into disarray. Emergency lights flickered on, casting long, wavering shadows across the room. The once vibrant space now felt ominous, the cheerful banners and colorful displays overshadowed by the uncertainty that hung in the air. Renata Santos stood close to Lucas, Diego, and Maria, her mind racing to comprehend the latest turn of events. Detective Rafael Mendez moved swiftly through the crowd, his authoritative presence commanding attention. "Please remain calm," he announced, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We need everyone to stay in their designated areas while we investigate the situation." Renata glanced around, noticing the fear etched on the faces of many attendees. Tobias, ever the vigilant protector, remained by her side, his ears perked and eyes alert. She reached down to give him a reassuring pat, drawing strength from his unwavering presence. As the detective coordinated with other officers, Renata felt a tap on her shoulder. Turning, she saw Marco, the dissenting voice from earlier, his expression a mix of frustration and concern. "Renata, we need to talk," Marco said urgently. "This isn't just about our event. There's something more going on here." Before Renata could respond, a loud crash echoed through the hall once more, followed by the sound of shattering glass. Screams erupted as panic set in, and Renata's heart raced. She looked to Lucas, whose eyes mirrored her fear. Without warning, the room was plunged into complete darkness as the emergency lights failed. The attendees groped in the darkness, disoriented and terrified. Renata's instincts kicked in, and she instinctively held onto Lucas, pulling him close. "Stay close," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the mounting chaos. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps approached, accompanied by muffled voices. Renata strained to hear, her pulse quickening. A faint, familiar voice called out, "Renata, it's me." Her heart skipped a beat as she recognized the voice. Her estranged father, Antonio Santos. Renata had not seen or spoken to him in years, their relationship severed by a painful family dispute that left deep emotional scars. "Antonio," she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of hope and apprehension. Before he could respond, a beam of light pierced the darkness, illuminating a figure standing near the stage. It was Antonio, looking weary and distressed. His presence sent a wave of conflicting emotions through Renata. "Renata, we need to talk," he repeated, his voice strained. Before Renata could approach him, Detective Mendez's voice cut through the tension. "Everyone, please remain seated. We have a situation that requires immediate attention." Renata's gaze shifted back to the detective, who seemed on edge. "Detective Mendez, what's happening?" "We believe there is a security breach," he replied, scanning the room for any signs of danger. "We need to ensure everyone's safety." As the detective spoke, Renata noticed a group of individuals moving stealthily towards the backstage area. Their intentions were unclear, but the fear in the room was palpable. Tobias growled softly, sensing the unease and preparing to protect Renata if necessary. Antonio took a step forward, his eyes meeting Renata's with a mixture of regret and determination. "Renata, please listen. There's something you need to know." Before Renata could respond, the power flickered back on, bathing the room in harsh, fluorescent light. The security breach became evident as a masked intruder entered the hall, brandishing a weapon that gleamed menacingly under the lights. "Nobody move!" the intruder shouted, causing screams and chaos to erupt once more. Renata's mind raced, trying to process the unfolding events. She felt Lucas's grip tighten, anchoring her amidst the turmoil. Detective Mendez sprang into action, attempting to de-escalate the situation. "Please calm down. Let's talk this through." But the intruder was beyond reasoning, his desperation palpable. He lunged toward the stage, aiming his weapon at the podium. Renata's instincts kicked in, and she instinctively pulled Lucas behind her, shielding him from harm. Tobias sprang into action, positioning himself between Renata and the intruder. The loyal dog growled fiercely, his protective stance a clear warning. The intruder hesitated, momentarily thrown off by Tobias's defiance. In that split second of hesitation, Antonio seized the opportunity. "Stop!" he shouted, stepping forward with his hands raised. "This isn't the way." The intruder's eyes darted between Antonio and Tobias, confusion and turmoil evident in his expression. Detective Mendez took advantage of the momentary lull, moving swiftly to disarm the intruder. A brief struggle ensued, but with the combined efforts of the detective and the brave actions of Antonio and Tobias, the threat was neutralized. As the intruder was restrained and taken away by the authorities, the room slowly began to calm. Renata's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear and relief washing over her. She looked to Antonio, whose face bore the weight of unspoken truths. "Antonio, what's going on?" Renata demanded, her voice shaky but resolute. Antonio sighed deeply, the tension in his shoulders evident. "Renata, there's something you need to know about our family, about me." Renata's mind raced, questions flooding her thoughts. "What are you talking about?" Antonio took a deep breath, his eyes filled with sorrow. "Years ago, before you and your mother separated, I was involved in something that changed our lives forever. Something I never wanted you to find out." Renata felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" Before Antonio could answer, Detective Mendez approached them, his expression serious. "We need to secure the area and speak with you separately. There are details we need to discuss regarding today's events." As Renata watched the detective lead Antonio away, a sense of foreboding settled over her. Questions swirled in her mind, and the revelation hinted at by Antonio only deepened the mystery surrounding the day's disturbances. Tobias nudged her hand, grounding her in the present moment. Renata took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenges that lay ahead. The events of the day had uncovered more than just community tensions. They had unveiled hidden shadows that threatened to disrupt everything Renata had been striving to build. As the room slowly returned to its former state of calm, Renata knew that the journey toward justice and unity was far from over. With Tobias by her side and the support of her community, she was determined to uncover the truth and confront the shadows that sought to undermine their progress. Renata Santos felt the weight of her father's sudden appearance. Antonio Santos, her estranged father, stood before her, looking weary and distressed. Amidst the chaos of the ongoing disturbances, Antonio approached Renata cautiously. "Renata, we need to talk," he said softly. Before she could respond, Detective Mendez intervened. "We need to secure the area and speak with you separately." As Detective Mendez led Antonio away, Renata was left with a sense of unease. She glanced at Lucas, her estranged brother, who offered a reassuring nod. The day's events were far from over, and the presence of her father hinted at deeper family secrets intertwined with the community's struggles. Later that evening, Renata met with Ana, who shared her suspicions about Antonio's involvement in Eduardo Lima's disappearance. "There are rumors he had connections with officials who opposed Eduardo's movement," Ana explained. Determined to uncover the truth, Renata decided they needed to confront Antonio. With the support of her friends and Tobias by her side, she felt ready to face the challenges ahead. The next morning, Renata felt a renewed sense of urgency. Determined to uncover the truth behind Eduardo Lima's disappearance, she met with her team at the community center. "We need solid evidence before confronting Antonio," Diego emphasized. "Rumors won't be enough." Lucas nodded. "I'll dig deeper into Antonio's past and his connections with local officials," Ana added. "I'll speak with my brother to gather any information he might have." Renata took a deep breath. "Let's stay focused and work together. Eduardo's legacy depends on us." Over the following weeks, the team worked tirelessly. Lucas uncovered old newspaper articles linking Antonio to several controversial government decisions. Diego collected testimonies from community members who remembered Eduardo's activism and his sudden disappearance. Anna's brother provided access to his research notes, revealing a possible cover-up involving high-ranking officials. One evening, Renata received a call from Ana. "We found something significant. There's a pattern of disappearances linked to activists like Eduardo." Renata's heart raced. "This confirms our suspicions. We need to present this evidence to Detective Mendez." Meeting with Detective Mendez, they shared their findings. "This is substantial," he acknowledged. "We'll need to approach this carefully to ensure everyone's safety." With Detective Mendez's support, Renata and her team planned a strategic press conference to expose the corruption. They compiled all their evidence, ensuring it was airtight and undeniable. On the day of the press conference, the community center was packed. Journalists, community members, and local officials filled the room, eager to hear Renata's revelations. Renata stood at the podium, her voice steady. "Today, we present evidence of systemic corruption that led to the disappearance of Eduardo Lima and others who dared to speak out against injustice." She displayed the documents and testimonies, detailing the involvement of Antonio Santos and the cover-up orchestrated by corrupt officials. The room buzzed with shock and outrage as the truth unfolded. Before they could conclude, masked intruders stormed the venue, causing chaos. Tobias sprang into action, protecting Renata as the team and attendees sought safety. Detective Mendez and law enforcement swiftly intervened, apprehending the intruders and restoring order. Despite the disruption, the evidence had been made public. The community rallied behind Renata and her team, demanding accountability and justice. Investigations were launched, leading to the exposure of the corrupt officials and the truth about Eduardo's fate. Renata felt a profound sense of accomplishment. "We've taken the first step towards real change," she said, looking around at the supportive faces of her community. With the corruption unveiled and the community united, Renata knew that Eduardo's legacy would continue to inspire their fight for justice and equality. With solid evidence in hand, Renata and her team prepared to expose the corruption tied to Eduardo Lima's disappearance. Detective Mendez supported their efforts, emphasizing the need for caution and strategic action. The day of the press conference arrived. The community center was filled with journalists, community members, and local officials. Renata stood at the podium, presenting the compiled evidence linking Antonio Santos and several high-ranking officials to the cover-up of Eduardo's disappearance. As she detailed the testimonies and documented proof, the room erupted in shock and outrage. The truth was undeniable, and the community's demand for justice grew louder. Just as Renata concluded her presentation, masked intruders burst into the venue, attempting to disrupt the event and silence their message. Tobias swiftly intervened, protecting Renata and alerting others to seek safety. Detective Mendez and law enforcement officers quickly subdued the intruders, restoring order. Despite the chaos, the evidence had been successfully presented to the public. The aftermath saw widespread support for Renata and her team. Investigations were launched, leading to the arrest of the corrupt officials involved. The community rallied together, inspired by their courage and determination to seek justice. Renata felt a profound sense of achievement. "We've taken a significant step towards real change," she declared, surrounded by supportive faces and the unwavering loyalty of Tobias. In the weeks that followed, the community center became a hub of rebuilding and healing. The corruption scandal had shaken the local government, leading to reforms and increased accountability. Eduardo Lima's legacy lived on, inspiring ongoing efforts for justice and equality. Renata's relationship with her father began to mend as Antonio Santos cooperated fully with the investigations, seeking redemption for his past actions. Lucas and Renata strengthened their bond, united by their shared commitment to their community. The press conference had not only exposed corruption, but also galvanized the community to continue advocating for their rights. New leaders emerged, and initiatives to support marginalized groups were established, fostering a more inclusive and equitable environment. One sunny morning, Renata stood outside the newly renovated community center, reflecting on the journey she had undertaken. Tobias by her side, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment and hope for the future. Today marks a new beginning, Renata said softly, watching as families gathered and children played in the park. Our fight for justice continues, stronger than ever. As the sun set over Sao Paulo, Renata knew that while challenges remained, the spirit of unity and resilience within her community would drive them forward. With Tobias's unwavering companionship and the support of those around her, she was ready to embrace the future, confident in their ability to overcome any obstacle.